Mr. Pop.
The idea that spaces are literally for everybody and that you can share something with anybody indiscriminately is false.
Like, are you on side Kendrick or side Drake? Of course, no one picked side Drake because no one's a pedophile.
Sure. Easy pick.
Yeah, very easy pick, and Drake is kind of a pussy. And Kendrick is like a genius rap god of like our lifetimes. So how could you ever side with Drake? But what got me thinking to talk about it was like, okay, if beef season is upon us, then where do we see other beefs in the architecture industry? And this is what's interesting to me. Like, I don't know if it's whether it's like, I'm a bit performing here.
Yeah, I've noticed.
I don't know if it's like whether we perceive like other architects to have beef with each other. That is interesting, or whether it's like a fantastical beef, because I have at least one example of a really funny architecture beef that I know about.
Tell me about it, because I have no idea, like, off the top of my head, I don't have any examples.
Okay, because that's the thing, is like architects usually don't beef with each other in public.
Yeah.
Because what kind of industry? Like, it doesn't make sense.
But it would be awesome.
It would be really dope, actually. We should have more architecture beefs. I'm trying to imagine, like, who the fuck Frank Lloyd Wright would have beefed with? Besides his janitor that killed his whole family? But
the janitor wasn't an architect, so...
No, but I wonder what made the janitor... So, okay, to give a little bit of background, for people that don't know this, Frank Lloyd Wright had his studio, Taliesin, and you know the story.
Yes.
Right, yeah, okay. But our lovely listeners may not know the story. So, some point in time, the janitor... I don't know why the janitor did this, why he had beef, but he set a fire in the back of the studio, and pre-fire code where you had to have 2 exits... Fucking amazing that this happened to an architect where they didn't have 2 exits. Everybody fled out the front door, and he was standing there with an axe like it's the fucking Shining. And he just, one by one, just like it's fucking Dark Souls and you're OP, and you're just like hacking away at these interns trying to get out. He killed everybody in Frank Lloyd Wright's office and everybody in Frank Lloyd Wright's family. I'm sure some people escaped and survived. Frank Lloyd Wright himself survived. But I have no idea why the janitor did this, or what the janitor would have caused the janitor to do this. He must have had some beef.
There was some clever, like, architectural knowledge of like, from his side, knowing that there's just this one exit.
That's the thing. He took advantage of bad fire code.
Which I'm totally for.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if you could take advantage of a bad fire code and murder your whole off, no.
Well, didn't he just kill like the service staff?
No, because he also killed like his family. He killed Frank Lloyd Wright's like wife and maybe some kids or something.
Oh, really?
And also like staff of the office.
Oh, really?
Like he was really mad at the entire office. I mean, in architecture, that would be like key beef season. Where you just axe murder them. I mean, he went... These days they use guns, but, you know.
But wasn't the only example that I can think of might be the beginning of, like, modern architecture?
How so?
When I can't even pronounce this like, congress of... This, like, group of architects who, like, came together to, like, talk about modern architecture and whatever, but they split... At the end, like the 10th or 11th meeting of them, isn't it the Charter of Athens, where they split?
When was this?
I don't know. Corp was there.
This was the modernists.
Yeah.
Oh, they had like a falling out.
Yeah, and they had a beef.
What did they have a beef about? Because Corp was insane?
No, I think it was more like the content of the things that they were talking about. I think.
Did he split with like Gropius?
I think Aldo Rossi was like splitting away from them. What I've taken from it was kind of like no, this isn't what architecture is about. It's too like rational, and I think like the group of Aldo Rossi and some of the Dutch architects, I think they split up and they went their separate ways because of like indifferences. But I'm not educated enough about
But this makes a lot of sense because Corb was obviously a super efficient guy.
Yeah.
I mean, his idea was that a building should be a machine for living, right?
Yeah.
And thus he designed, like, for instance, everyone knows fucking Villa Savoie, right? I've taken a shit there. That's all I can say about it. It's not that interesting of a building. It's supposed to be a machine for living, and if you go there and if you experience it in person, like, it's a super linear concept and it's super logical. There's no wonder to it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And because he thought of everyone as a machine in the part of this machine. And it's so shitty to think of humans as machines like this, so I kind of understand why they went away from him.
Yeah, just like in Stuttgart where we live, there's this Corbusier building in the Weissenhochsiedlung, which is very famous. And
Wait, there's a Corbusier building here?
yes,
I had no idea.
and it's still like the rest of the Weissenhochsiedlung. You know about the Weissenhochsiedlung?
No.
It's back in the day they did this. It's almost like an expo, like this. Like they wanted to test out new forms of living, so they built like I don't know how many 10, 20 residential buildings with all of the modernist architects involved. Everyone got their own little plot and they designed the building. And Corbusier's building still stands the way it was back then. It's a museum nowadays, and you can still like experience how
But it was housing.
It was housing. Yeah. It was. They had this very interesting poster. I think it was called like "How to Live" was on the poster, and it was this picture of a Baroque interior, very like lots of like ornaments and whatever, and it was like crossed out. That's
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Adolf Loos would have something to say about
Yeah.
that. Positively.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Cringe.
And like the Corbusier building is designed after, I think like train coaches, like sleeper train coaches. So it's very efficient. Like lots of space saving. The hallways are like 60 centimeters wide. So and you pull your bed out of the.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
That's nothing.
No, it's nothing. It's supposed for like people as a machine, using their house as a machine. It's not nice to live in, but back in the day, of course, it was something very new and something.
But the thing is, this would make so much sense in like, I don't know, a place where people live in coffins, like Hong Kong or something like this, right? This is where you don't enjoy where you live.
Yeah, but that was their proposal for like residential housing going forward into the future.
But isn't this hyper-capitalist in a way though? Because you're also like, if you're trying to make people like not enjoy where they live, rather trying to make them enjoy outside of where they live, then it seems like the alternative is like the workplace, no?
Yeah, totally. But I don't think they designed for people to not enjoy their home. They thought this was the way to move forward. Very rational, very utilitarian.
So the others split from him.
Yeah, I don't know who split from him. I just know that their group split up. Few people on that side, few people on the other side, and that was kind of a beef. But that only worked as a beef because they knew each other and they were in their little group there. But companies arguing with each other or beefing with each other, I don't have any example for that.
Well, this one time when I was working for Mark, so Mark Gage really doesn't like Patrik Schumacher, right? And this is like
understand.
Yeah, this is like prime beef, like prime rib. Mark is an aesthetics guy, right? He literally likes to say that he wrote the book on aesthetics. Because he wrote a book called Aesthetics and it's got his name on it, so he wrote the book on aesthetics.
He wrote one book on aesthetics.
Yeah, so like he's kind of right in that way. But then Patrik Schumacher like denies aesthetics as a primacy of architecture, whereas Mark embraces it. So they're at odds with this.
Yeah.
Right. Patrik is in his whole like parametricism thing, which is a rehashed kind of modernism
Yes.
where you appreciate the isometric detail.
Yeah.
In a way, or
Yeah.
isomorphic detail. So, however, it could be argued that Patrick's perspective is that of an aesthetician that's just chosen that ideology of the detail or the isomorphic form as part of the building, which is an aesthetic choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's exactly what Mark's argument was. This is back in the day of like Facebook, when everyone used Facebook. At one point in time, and I might be misremembering the details, but like kind of at one point in time, Mark got in an argument with Patrick on Facebook, on fucking Facebook, like boomers.
Like publicly?
Yes. And this is back when like Patrick used Facebook, and Patrick used to post in all caps these insane like Trump-esque posts.
Okay.
Like Patrick was Trump posting on Facebook. Like, he was really OG with this. And so Mark used to start commenting on it and just responds normally, but at some point Patrick would just keep responding with paragraphs in all caps. And everyone knows, like, when you're posting, if someone responds to you in paragraphs, you take the conversation lower. You get stupider. So it got to the point where, like, Mark was just posting this picture of a cat stuck in a cardboard tube. And it would piss Patrick off so much because Patrick wanted to have like a debate.
Yeah.
And it's the internet. Like, why are you trying to debate on the internet?
Yeah, sure.
And it would make Patrick so mad that he would post this meme, this stupid meme of like a cat stuck in a cardboard tube that says like, how does this make sense? He would just get more angry until eventually it got to the point where like Mark asked us, the employees, to intervene.
Okay, how so? What did you like expect from you guys?
So we just thought it was really funny because Patrick was being obviously stupid. And so we all added Patrick, and we all joined the conversations, and Patrick would make another post, and then all of us would post the same exact image of the cat stuck in a cardboard tube on the post, and just spam it with this cat stuck in a cardboard tube, and Patrick would get so mad that he would start screaming in all caps at us, and eventually block us. So we made fake Facebook accounts, and Mark told us to make accounts, and make fake Facebook accounts, and troll this guy. And just continue, like, posting the fucking cat meme over and over and over again to the posts. And he just got more and more frustrated. Eventually it got boring because at some point, like, trolling someone only lasts, like, 20 minutes before you get bored.
Yeah.
It was, like, about 2 days in the office before we got bored of just harassing Patrick on Facebook.
This is also, you can link back to the Drake-Kendrick beef. Like, it gets boring.
Yeah.
You realize very fast who won, and then you just move on to the next thing.
I mean, like in this case, like it is the same thing as the Drake Kendrick thing because, I mean, it was obvious who won from like the third song drop. Like Kendrick had so much meat against Drake, and he had so much better. Like he's such a better lyricist and like all of this stuff.
Yeah, that's. I think in the end, that's what like made him win or made him come out as a winner, because in the end it's just allegations. Like no one proved anything. Did you
see that there was the guy that said that Kendrick beat his wife?
Yeah.
Drake paid this guy like $100K for that information.
Really?
And then the guy posted like, I lied. He took the money and he just fucking lied.
Awesome.
So Kendrick did not beat his wife. Like it was just totally just fucking with Drake from the very beginning. But that's I guess how these beefs go or whatever. Like, and it feels the same way because it only lasted, like 2 days. And then everyone got tired of it. Everyone who was participating got over it. Except probably Patrick. I hope Patrick still is mad about this.
Should go to one of his lectures and just like hold up the cat in the cardboard box.
You know, I did really try to piss him off once. In person.
Really?
Because he was at Angewandte. Because he at the time, he was still a visiting professor at Angewandte. They might have I think they actually have gotten rid of him because he's such a controversial and like awful figure. that he was doing a lecture at Angewandte. He was doing a visiting lecture with some PhD students, and they told us about it 2 weeks ahead of time. And Patrik is in love with Ayn Rand.
Yeah.
He's obsessed with her.
Oh, Jesus.
And her and the massive gap between her front teeth. And so I made all of these like 11 by 17 like A3 size posters. One of them was just a picture of Karl Marx. That's it. Because Patrik hates Karl Marx. The other one was a picture of Ayn Rand. Same exact pose. Except Ayn Rand had a big X on her face. Like big black and white X on her face. And I printed 20 of each. And I posted them all around the institute. And within the lecture hall where he was going to give this lecture.
Yeah.
And he made his PhD students take down all of them.
Of course he did.
Even the ones in the academic wing where they weren't having the lecture. He made them take down all of them. Except there was one that they couldn't reach because I got a fucking ladder to put that up. Like 4 meters off the ground. I got a ladder to put that up on the wall.
Yeah.
Like 4 meters off the ground. They couldn't reach it because they couldn't get a ladder. So that one was still there. And then Patrik is starting his lecture and everybody's in classes. Because they scheduled it during class time, which was brilliant on the scheduling team's part. And I was in Sanford Quinter's theory lecture. Sanford Quinter's a great guy who also doesn't like Patrik.
Yeah.
And Patrik leans his head in the middle of the lecture and goes, Sandy! Because Sanford Quinter's like pet name was Sandy.
Yeah.
Sanford Quinter hates being called Sandy, but Patrik doesn't know this.
Another beef.
Yeah. Actually, yeah. I think the thing is everyone hates Patrik. It should be a sitcom. And Patrik came in the lecture, and Sanford was like, Patrik, welcome to my lecture. We're having a class right now. And Patrik was like, I'm having a lecture right now. Could everyone come and join? Maybe after class. It was so pitiful and sad because Patrik was like begging people to come to his lecture and no one wanted to be there. No one wanted to come. It was so cringe and actually very sad.
Yeah. The poster thing, we just where I study the Academy of Arts in Stuttgart, the head of our, I don't know, he's not the head of the department, but he has a lot to say.
He's the head of like the bachelor's program
and the master's, not the I don't know exactly, just your ex company's owner.
Do we say names?
I mean, it's public info, right?
Tobias Walliser?
Yeah, he's the head of our. He has a lot to say at my university, and
he's also the head of a company called Lava.
Yes, which is involved in the neon projects surrounding the line. Yes. Supposedly not working on the line, just alongside of it.
Also Trojena.
Yeah.
And the Red Sea.
Yeah, which is connected to a lot of human rights violations and just awful stuff in general. So our students, we as the students, we don't really like him having so much say there while working for a client that like does awful shit all the time. The Saudi prince.
I mean, it's a dictator.
Yeah. So the posters, the students did some posters because the head Tobias Walliser had a panel, so we hung those posters up, but the students just did it way too early and didn't do it as cleverly as you did. No letters, like posters just in very reachable places, and just they removed the posters before the panel, like all of them, just kind of sad to just.
But Tobias knows about it.
Of course he does. But the goal with the posters was to like have them hung there during the panel because there were lots of outsiders coming to the panel. So the students kind of did it like a strategic mistake.
I mean, I guess like my original intention with the Patrik posters or the anti-Ayn Rand posters that were just supposed to piss off Patrik was that they were supposed to be there in the context of the thing,
Yeah.
the lecture, and I didn't realize that they would be taken down either. I didn't think about that. I mean,
Really?
I was just lucky that there was one that I got a ladder for because
Yeah.
I was just really being absurd with this. I'm just
Yeah.
like, what if I put one 4 meters off the ground that they'd have to get a ladder for?
Should just like hang them on the ceiling, and stick them to the ceiling. So
I should have done that too. But I didn't realize like, oh, actually they would take them down because I mean, at the end of the day, it is Patrick's like personality that you're attacking.
yeah,
And if you attack Tobias Walliser and Lava, then it's his bottom line. It's his money that
yeah,
you're going after.
yeah,
So of course he's gonna like, you know, or someone is gonna defend him if it's not himself from that. So I mean, like at least to say like I appreciate the students for doing this.
yeah,
It's a good effort, but I think that you know it takes a lot more work than just some signs.
yes,
And I mean, you know, today is Nakba Day. It's the 67th anniversary of the original invasion of Palestine by Israel.
Is that today?
76th.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. Which is crazy because like some people would say like, oh, the Nakba is something that just happened and it's over.
The
But
Nakba.
Fuck. I'm not going to edit that.
No, the Nakba.
The Nakba. But I'm maybe I'm dyslexic. I'm bad with all words. It's okay. So it's the 76th anniversary of the Nakba, which some people would say like was only a single moment, but we all know kind of has been continuous.
Yeah.
This crisis, like as it is, like a crisis, has been happening for now 76 years. And on the nose of the 76th anniversary, the invasion of Rafah continues incessantly. It's hard to even talk about it because I forgot where I was going with this.
Yeah, me too.
But like, I don't know. To be honest, like I think where I was aiming for was like, I appreciate what the student protesters have been doing, in the U.S. and I don't know if it's happening abroad, but I mean what they're going through with these extremely peaceful protests that have been just turned into brutal incidents from the police. Is extremely admirable. Like, more power to them. I wish I could participate. I wish I could be part of this. But I think what they're doing as a kind of protest is a really good lesson to learn about protest.
Yes.
That, you know, for instance, what this protest against Tobias Walliser and Lava, you could learn from this.
They
could learn from this.
Yeah, from the ones in the US. I mean.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just about hanging up signs.
No, that's what I've been like talking to other students been saying is that this more of a thing you do for your own comfort to give you a feeling of you're doing something, but what are you really doing when there's nothing at stake for you? You know,
Exactly.
You have to expose yourself to some kind of risk. I mean, in the end, it's very hard. I get this feeling that I think that's a very general issue is that when you try to achieve change, you always feel like you are the one. You feel alone, even though you know that people
Right.
have the same ideas as you, but like taking that step and like committing to maybe like confronting them publicly on whatever issue it is, like confronting Tobias Walliser, that feels like you're doing that alone, and I don't know where I'm.
Well, the benefit of like a group protest, like an individual protest, is usually just insanity, like some guy setting themselves on fire.
Yeah,
or
it's
something.
martyrdom.
Yeah, it's martyrdom.
Yeah.
But a group protest is you're there in numbers, right? And those numbers, like, you don't actually have to justify those numbers. You don't have to. Not every single person has to speak, but the numbers themselves are a strong force. However, at the same time, you have to have some kind of I think this is the problem. You have to have some kind of way to explain why you're doing this.
Yes.
Because if you just put up posters, it just looks like aggravation.
Yeah. Exactly.
And it just looks like unchanneled anger.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you really want to kind of make a change, then you have to focus this anger, and you have to focus this anger either like with your body of students that are supporting you, towards some kind of entity that can talk to the media or talk to Tobias himself in a public forum, which would be dope, like you said. And you have to do it in such a way that the message is not lost or able to be destroyed by the people that you're going after.
Yeah, there's a lot of risk in that if you do some kind of confrontation or talking, that you lose in quotation marks the debate that ensues. You know, you have to be very prepared, otherwise you're really just giving the other side a platform to show why they are right.
Exactly.
And that's what you really don't want to do. And I think that's also something that you always have in mind when you think about, oh, do I take that step? Do I take that risk? Because the risk is not just a personal one where you might get expelled or whatever, but the risk is also that you shine a better light on your opponent than you really want to.
Right. It could backfire.
Yeah.
I mean, the interesting thing about like the Colombia protesters, for instance, is like Colombia is on their board of directors are weapons manufacturers, are real estate lords, people trying to take over the city of New York, like literal gentrifying colonizers in this way.
Yeah.
But also like people from Raytheon, people from Lockheed Martin, you know? That's why you have Hillary Clinton saying insane things about how these student protesters don't understand history. Bitch, they understand history better than you do. But they're going after these people whose and they understand the fight that they're in. The fight that they're in is against people whose livelihoods are at stake. People whose bottom lines, their money, they're going after them for their fucking money, is at stake. And when you're going after Tobias Walliser, when you're going after Lava, their money is at stake. His bottom line, his company, his legacy is at stake. And you got to realize how big this battle is. He's going to go through everything that he has the power to do, and every little scrap that he can do to prevent this from being a big thing. Yeah. Because it's his fucking bottom line.
Yeah, it is. But that's also the problem with this is, what's the end goal of the students, of us? Because when you like explain it like that it's about his bottom line, aren't we kind of attacking his livelihood and wishing for it to like just end?
Is that the fight you want? Is that the fight they want?
I don't. Yeah, I think that's the problem with a lot of students, is that they want to have a good ending for everyone, but that's just not possible.
Right.
Like the one ending is, I don't know, Lava stops like their work and their livelihood.
Not going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. But and the other side is the students losing their livelihood in their, I don't know, their grades or their like daily life at the university. And I don't think they want to risk either. I don't think they want like Walliser to like land on the streets. You know, they're too nice for that. The students are too nice for that. That's not what they're wishing for. But what are they wishing for then? What's the solution? Just exposing something, what does it do?
It doesn't do much but give you an opportunity. Like, I hate to be blunt, but I'm going to be blunt. It doesn't give you much but an opportunity for yourself to like pat yourself on the back.
Yeah, exactly.
We did a good job. We stand on this side. So okay, good. You've explained to everyone that you stand on this side. But then what?
Yeah, but isn't that then, aren't you then just attacking the symptoms of like a capitalist system that we are under? So when we're not like directly trying to like get rid of this economic system that we live in, isn't everything then just patting yourself on the back?
You're attacking things aesthetically.
Yeah.
Without
but that's
actually
not
having
that's
a
not
vested
yeah
interest.
that's not leading to much then.
Correct. I mean, because this is the problem. This is what the protesters are smart about. The ones in Columbia, UCLA, all of these American campuses, they're smart about it because they know it's more than an aesthetic fight. For them, they're not trying to be on media all the time posting about it because that's just going to get used against them. They're smarter than this.
But what's their end goal?
I mean, their end goal is the divestment of their universities from these weapons manufacturers and Israeli backings.
But do you think that's realistic?
No. But, actually, I can't say it's not realistic, because there's been one university, and I've forgotten the name, I'm sorry, that has actually divested from Israel because of this.
Really?
It starts with a B, it's a minor university, but the thing is, like, the point is that if it can't happen on a small scale,
Yeah.
Then it's nice that, rather, it's good progress. You know what I'm saying? Is that, like, there's a possibility that it could happen on a larger scale, and if it doesn't happen on a larger scale, at least that mark has been made in history.
That's true. Yeah, and in the end, like, in 100 years, history kind of always, like, sides with the minority. Like, we know we are on the right side, right? Just...
Yeah, but, this is the shitty thing, is, like, Colombia did this once before. In the Vietnam protests, they fucking sided with the government. And now they act like the Vietnam protests were something that's important to their identity as a college. Such bullshit. They're going to do the same thing in 50 years. They're going to act like that this protest is part of their identity as a college, even though they fucking brought the NYPD to, like, knock people in the head.
But isn't that rewriting of what's happened now as a part of their identity,
exactly.
Isn't it in the end still kind of a positive?
I think it is. If you're able to think about it carefully, it is, because consider what happened at Kent State.
Yeah.
Where the National Guard was sent in by Truman, and I think it's Truman. Yeah, it's Truman. And Truman sent in the National Guard, and the National Guard got a bit up in arms, literally, and killed 4 people. I think injured like 11 others.
Yeah.
It would be very easy for Kent State to say, like, we supported these protests. We're a progressive university, blah blah blah. But with the blood on your hands, how could you? How could you support these? How could you say you supported these protests? I'm not saying that people should massacre themselves, against Tobias Walliser.
No.
But what I'm saying is, like, the stakes as of yet, if you cared, are still too low. Like, you yourself as a protester have to amp it up a bit.
Yes. Yeah. But that means risking like
something.
A lot of but that's necessary. Like, as an activist, in activism there has to be some kind of stake.
Yeah.
Just can't do it out of the comfort of, like, anonymity and just posting up some posters.
This is the Zizekian thing about, like, protests, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where he talks about, like, this notion of protesting is so cathartic in a way that, like, it's become almost kind of understood part of society to protest.
Yeah, it's kind of coping.
It's coping. It's totally coping.
Yeah.
You have, like, especially in Germany, for instance, I saw it in Austria too, where if you want to protest, you have to fill out a form.
Yeah.
With the fucking government.
Yeah, it's complicit, like,
to protest the government.
Yeah. Yeah.
So by doing so, like, what you're doing is you're complying with the system, to take part in the system, to go scream at the sky in public in a way that everybody understands it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And then nothing happens at the end of the day. You go home feeling better because like, everyone feels better for screaming at the sky. It's
you're kind of expecting the ways the system works to change the system.
Right. It doesn't work.
No, it doesn't make sense at all.
I mean, this is why you need to work outside the system and do the things that the system doesn't expect. The system did not expect the campus protests. That's why the system is reacting violently against it. No?
You think that wasn't expected?
I mean,
I
I
don't
think
know. If they did like the violent reaction against like protests, and them thinking that reaction is okay, kind of means the system still works. You know,
But who's them thinking it's okay?
like the police being violent, like whoever calls the police in.
I think the students didn't expect this to happen to this. Maybe they did. I don't know. I can't speak for them. But I don't think the public is okay with seeing this.
No, that's true. That's true. But the officials, the government, the unis, still feel like they can pull this off without major repercussions.
Which is actually really sad, and that's actually it's good that they realize that there are repercussions to this. You know, like that one instance last week where a shot was fired inside of the fucking Macklemore song, Hague Hall, Habe Hall. I can't keep the names of these fucking university halls together. Like some hall, where a cop went in and he had like a flashlight on his gun, and he was apparently using it to see. And what the New York Crimes, reported was that the gun went off, and a bullet was lodged in a door frame. Someone could have been killed.
Yeah.
But they just said the gun went off. Like, the gun had its own autonomy somehow and just fucking went off.
As they always do.
Not that these cops don't have huge flashlights that you can use without guns, because they use those flashlights to hit people all the time. And they were using the one attached to the gun. Like, this is like, they went in with the intent to hurt people. If he had his gun drawn...
Yeah, sure. But...
I don't think the administration expected that, because, like, if you're sending one of your beautiful, trust fund, perfect, blonde, buoyant children to one of these universities, you don't expect them to get shot. And I think that's a level that they didn't expect.
So you think the higher upper middle class is on the side of the student protesters now, because their children are exposed to like police violence?
I mean, I can't say. The cynical approach would be to say, like, these kids don't have much to lose because they all have trust funds, blah, blah, blah. That's not true. But on the other hand, I think people are people. You talk to your parents about things, and your parents believe you when you talk to them because they love you and they trust you. Mm-hmm. And if you tell your parents, like, you know, I believe in something, I'm doing this is wrong, then I think your parents will give you a modicum of trust, and their parents probably did. Like, I'm just going to assume the best of people. And then when the parents see on the media the police going in and just beating the shit out of people that look like they're student kids, it's got to change some faces.
I hope it does.
Yeah.
That's probably like the only thing that like can change people's minds if their like loved ones are involved. And
so the next step is the people from Akka need to go get beat by the police.
No, it's probably going to be hard to frame the anti-neon like action as something like anti-Semitic. That's how you get beat in Germany. Yeah. But now we're like protesting or whatever we are doing for like people that live in like the Middle East, and usually people don't care about people living in the Middle East here.
Exactly. Yeah. That's another thing, is like it's so hard for any of this like neon human rights abuse stuff to catch on, because who's on the other side?
Yeah, the people that we have hated for the last I don't know how many hundreds
that's the hurdle with the Palestinians as well.
Yes.
But these Bedouins or what have you, they don't have TikTok. They don't have like social media.
I mean, they do. They have phones, and that's how a lot of the human rights violations have been documented. You know.
Okay.
Media videos. There's this one guy who was like shot by the.
Holy shit.
I don't know what the.
That's on video?
I think what he did was post a video of his house in like the line of the line where it's supposed to go. I think
The line of the
the
line.
line of the line. Saying that he doesn't want to like move away from here and that he's in danger and like that houses have been like lit on fire as far as I can remember. And yeah, he made just a video about the situation. And a few days later, he was killed because he was labeled as a terrorist.
Really?
Yeah,
By the Saudis?
yeah, by the Saudis. There's this United Nations report on this.
No shit.
Yeah.
I
And
didn't know about that.
that's what kind of also sparked the protest against like Tobias Walliser, but also like just against this whole NEOM project. You know, the posters we had posted on in the university wasn't just lava, it was like Dildo Gun and Miso and I don't know, just some offices that work on NEOM projects.
But that's another thing that I was talking about earlier is like every office works on neon projects.
Yeah.
And there's like
just not-
300.
Yeah.
I mean, like there's so many that like you can imagine every single office is
Yeah.
working on neon.
Yeah. And I mean, it's also not to like every action against them is it's not something against the person themselves, and especially not against the people that work for these offices, because everyone has to like survive and has to make a living. But
Exactly.
for us at the academy is just, you know, we have the head of one of these offices who makes the decision to like would his office work for these kinds of projects, and that's something that we just feel very strong about and just would like to understand how how that seems to be just accepted like throughout the entire department of architecture at our school.
But it's good that you make this point, because in this case, like the students have a unique agency. In academia, you're not vested
No, we
as a
didn't.
worker.
Yeah, and we didn't choose this guy to be like part of our institution. And to us, it's just weird. Why is this type of person part of our institution, while also talking a lot about like environmental issues, and you know the entire NEOM project is just like a huge sinkhole for a sinkhole for what? For CO2.
Money, steel, CO2.
Yeah.
They're not
just-
environmentally efficient at all. Like, come on.
No, everything else, like talking about what's it called? The
Hydroelectrics.
hydroelectrics. You know, that's just greenwashing. In the end, you're using.
There's no hydroelectrics happening in Neon. Everything has to go uphill.
Yeah. Also, no. But what's the other thing? Not hydroelectrics, but doing some hydrogen, whatever,
So
revolutionary, blah blah blah.
that's the thing. So Bjarke designed Oxagon. Or rather, his office.
I thought Big wasn't doing NEOM projects.
But they did Oxagon.
Okay.
Oxagon is right on the Red Sea, and Oxagon is supposed to create all of this hydroelectric power, and I guess hydrogen power also. Like, that's the power and technology center of NEOM. That's also where the water for Trojena gets pumped up into the lake. It's supposed to be like the technology core of NEOM. So yeah, that is like what's happening.
Yeah, and
there.
That's I think what they are kind of using to greenwash this entire thing.
Yeah.
No, we are working on like energy generation of the future and blah blah blah, but completely missing the insane amounts of concrete that Walliser seems to focus a lot on the sustainability, not just of like his projects, but like projects that students do themselves, which is ridiculous. You know, how can I take like a studio project like that seriously if at the same time in reality like stuff like that kind of happens with the support of like one of our teachers? Just I don't know, it's super frustrating.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, it's it's a lot of the sustainability discourse in general.
Yes.
Right, and this is like a big beef for me, and this is why I got really frustrated with sustainability, because like, what are you even talking about? Are you even real? Like, how much of it is just greenwashing and putting a stamp on things?
Yeah, no. In the end, we just like the solution is to not build. Like the entire profession of an architect should like
it
be
is
completely
unsustainable.
Yes, and maybe in academia, in teaching, that kind of has to like start coming up that what we are learning isn't what we try to like solve. We are helping we are helping like climate change and the exhaustion of resources with every building. It doesn't even have to be like some dystopian, utopian, huge
even
project.
The most like socially perfect building that you make is still depleting the world's resources, exactly like you said.
Yeah. And we do it in a way, like architecture does it in a way where that isn't even meant to be sustainable. Is we build buildings for like 30 years, like the expected lifespan of a building is like what, 30, 50 years, and then
at
we
best
tear it down and build new.
I mean, in the US we have these like 5/2 buildings where the lifespan is like 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
But that brings up a very interesting like problem with architecture, with the profession itself, is that we kind of get into it with the expectation of us having like creative liberties and like us designing something that is going to be built, and it's kind of like this architect syndrome that we've been like
save the world.
Yeah, that too, but through our work we can't really do that. But if we want to really do good, we kind of aren't doing the work that we wanted to do when we got into this entire architecture thing. So we have to like the goal is to dissolve architecture in itself and redefine it. And
right.
Like,
I mean, restoration and rehabilitation, I think, is a good avenue.
It is, but that's like most people. Like most students, I can only talk about students really, like they scoff at it. That's not what they want to do. It's very hard. It's not as creative. It's not as free as you expected your life as a student to be. But that's realistically, if you really want to do good, that's the thing you should do and should go down with. It's hard because I don't want to do restoration projects only either. I like the idea of coming up with a design and maybe it being built at some point, but
I mean, I think every architect wants to make amazing things.
Mm-hmm.
Every architect is like trained and has this ambition to create this amazing project that's going to change the world of design and change the way we live and change.
Yeah.
So much so that like you don't really realize if the drive is to change, then there can never be a drive to save the planet, to be sustainable, because any kind of change is inevitably going to be detrimental to this. These two things can't exist at once.
Yes, yeah, totally. And I mean, it keeps coming back to
the best you can do is make an architecture that tries to be as neutral to the environment as possible, but you're just minimizing your impact.
Yeah, that's only the best you can do. That's the top of what like the most positive thing you can do is still like bottom line still a negative to the climate.
Totally.
It's frustrating.
Yeah.
So, but what to do? It's also not our job to like change this. It's the overarching system that is like at fault always. It's always capitalism. It's always like growth and trying to like do new things, but haven't we have reached a point where we shouldn't do new things. We should just reorganize how we as societies function.
But you're onto something here, because architecture doesn't work in a vacuum. Architecture is always a product of benefactors.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's people that are paying us to do these things. In this case, it's like Neon that's paying us to do these things.
Mm-hmm.
In every other case, there's a developer or somebody that's paying you to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And we wouldn't exist as an industry, as a profession, or as a creative discipline, even as people who are interested in things, despite your dreams of the perfect building. You're not going to exist in this without somebody paying you to do it.
Yeah.
So you can't fault the architects for this. They're just working within the discipline that pays them. You really have to look at capital to seek something better, which capital will never do.
Yeah, but so that kind of means you as an architect who wants to like do good and do change and change the world, you kind of shouldn't get into architecture, but you maybe should go into not politics, but maybe work for a city, or I don't know, just you should be part of what architecture is depending on, and not be inside of architecture itself.
It's whose side are you on? Are you on the developer side? I mean, because that's your benefactor. But you have to be at the end on the side of like I said before, like the people who will use your architecture at the end. How can you make a community better?
But just making community better is also kind of just fixing or caring for the symptoms and not for you're just helping people cope, and through that coping, change doesn't happen unless you build the perfect utopia where everyone is like has the time to like work on societal issues, but that's not possible to achieve
not
just
under capitalism.
Not under capitalism, and not with just architecture, not with just one thing. It always comes back to this, which is super frustrating, because might as well do nothing as an individual, you know?
I mean, that's the nihilistic approach, is like you might as well do nothing. And I agree with you, like it's the easiest way out. You might as well either do nothing or not care about it.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like as a lowly architect, what can you actually change? It's the biggest problem. I have no idea how to solve this.
No, me neither. It's hopeless.
Yeah, it is hopeless. And but I think that the worst thing you can do is burden yourself with the problems of the rest of the world.
Yes, absolutely. Like in the end, it also comes down to you being an individual living under these circumstances, and you kind of have to make the best of them. That also means surviving. That also means making money. So while you have to do this, at least try to have as positive of an impact as you can.
Yeah.
That's why the nihilist like perspective isn't a good thing. Like just
you should be a positivist.
Yes. You should still try, even if it's hopeless. You should be like naive. You should be like oblivious to like how bad everything really is. Just try even if it doesn't lead to anything.
But even in the smallest way, like you don't have to save the planet with every project.
No.
Because a project is not going to save the planet. The best thing you can do is just like, I don't know, maybe your project has some good public space that gets people together and gets people talking to each other.
Yeah.
You know, maybe your project, it doesn't have to be covered in solar panels or covered in fucking ivy. Jesus Christ! If your project is covered in ivy, it's gonna be worse for the planet. Stop solar punk. Solar punk is awful. I don't want to see any more solar punk.
And it's ugly as fuck.
It's ugly. It's awful. Every time I see a tree on a building, I just think like, you know how much it costs to have the tree on that building? Yeah. Do you know how much steel it takes?
That poor tree.
And that poor tree.
Yeah.
The poor janitor who has to maintain that thing all the time, who's underpaid. Like, okay, maybe you're creating a job for some janitors. Whatever.
You know what this is? This is architecture for ants and for mosquitoes.
Yeah, it is. You're just gonna make gnats.
Yeah.
You're just gonna have fucking gnats. Look, you're not gonna solve the problem by covering a building in plants. That's just hiding the problem.
Yes.
Because you don't want to talk about the problem.
Yeah.
Because you as an architect, every time I see a building covered in plants, the only thing I can think of is that you can't make the project sustainable. So you make it look green by literally making it green. So you can pat yourself on the back and say that you've made it green and sustainable.
Yeah.
Because you're conflating these different things.
Yeah.
Now, what you what you actually should be doing is not building that building in the first place, because the only reason you covered it in fucking plants and trees is to get the thing past approval, to get the thing past your client, because your client loves to see a building covered in plants.
Yeah.
But when it actually gets built, it's never going to be so pretty. It's never going to be so forested or covered in trees.
No.
It's going to be awful. It's going to be disgusting. The best you'll have is a few janitors that are desperately trying to keep those fucking plants alive at the end of the day. And sure, you've made 5 jobs off of this, but you've cost $10 million to do it.
Yeah.
You've used outrageous amounts of steel to support those plants, outrageous amounts of soil, outrageous amounts of water for something that you shouldn't have built in the first place. Just build a fucking park.
It's a guilty tree.
It's a guilty tree.
Yeah.
The guilty pleasure, guilty tree.
Yeah, but you know what my biggest problem with this is in the end I really like plants.
Me too.
And as a material, as an atmospheric thing,
It's a
great.
fantastic
super
atmosphere.
it's super
Love
nice.
It. Love it.
But trying to portray it as a solution to some eco problem, that's stupid. But maybe there is a way to use it as as an atmospheric tool, as a material that just creates a nice place, because that's also something that
You should do this. Yeah, you should think about the way that your buildings are perceived and experienced.
Yeah.
Because this also makes people think. It makes people happier.
Yes.
You know, to
which
be
is
in
very important.
a place where they feel comfortable, and plants do this.
But do you think the trees on I don't know, there's this Bosco Verticale in Italy, which really has trees on it, but I don't think that's what makes people happy, because it always feels kind of out of place. There's a few buildings in Germany where it has worked, where the entire building is full of plants, but it feels out of place. It feels like a facade, of course.
But what about this is making me think about this building here in Stuttgart.
Yes.
That's covered in vines.
Yeah.
And there's literally a guy whose job it is to maintain those and replace them constantly.
Yeah.
Because they're always dying. Because it doesn't work. But then I contrast this to the Flak Tower in Vienna.
Mm-hmm.
The one that they turned into an aquarium.
Oh yeah, that's so nice.
I love this.
Yeah, where it's very clear that the purpose of this isn't to, I don't know, an aquarium is probably not greenwashing. It's probably the opposite, but
it's really bad for the environment for sure.
Yeah, but it just makes a nice space for people to be in. No one thinks about, oh, this is good or bad for the environment. This is something that is useful to us as people who live their daily lives in a city, which the building here in Stuttgart doesn't do.
It's an office.
It's just it's an office building whose use are those plants on there. It's, I don't know, maybe we need to describe the building more. It's this it has this metal cladding in this anthracite grayish metal facade, and over it are just a bunch of vines.
Mostly of which are dead.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like something for the people. It doesn't feel like something that is supposed to make the area better. It really just feels like greenwashing.
But in contrast, if you go to the Vienna aquarium, which is okay, to also describe this one, the Vienna aquarium it's built inside of a flak tower, which is this the only reason they built an aquarium there was because this flak tower is a giant concrete monument from World War II that is far too difficult to demolish.
Yeah.
Because the walls are meter thick concrete.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, they did the most insane thing, and they built an aquarium inside of it. So it houses tanks of water. On top of that, it also houses rainforest environments.
Yeah.
For monkeys and shit. So you can go inside of this thing on the 5th floor. There's fucking monkeys and rainforests. It's fucking wild to see this thing, and it's good for the public. Families go there all the time. I can't say it's free because it costs 20 euros to enter, but insider knowledge, if you go to the bar
And then go down.
And then go down.
Yeah.
You can get in for free.
Because the bar is on the top of the building. And
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you go all the way to the top at the bar, and then you go down from the bar. You can get in for free. I used to do this all the time. Fantastic way to get in for free, and then you can actually experience like this World War II concrete monument, which full of rainforest. But by the way, there is one weird room. If you know about it.
I've been there a lot. Yeah.
Do you know the World War II room?
I don't know no.
Okay, so it's on the third floor maybe, and it's accessed off of a weird side stair that you wouldn't even notice.
Okay.
And if you go up this stair, around and around and around,
Okay.
like you're in a fucking Dark Souls map again, around and around and around, like in this weird stair, tiny little stair, you get to a room that's full of World War II memorabilia.
Just full of like Hitler portraits.
And it's full of like iron crosses and like it's not World War II, but like Nazi shit. Like there's images, models of tanks and stuff. And there's like one old guy that maintains this room who was probably there in World War II. Who was probably like that's probably his Nazi uniform. And like he will tell you all about it with way too much detail.
Nice.
And then you can go back to the rainforests.
I've never noticed.
It was like weird exploring this building and finding this. Yeah, but like suffice it to say that like besides the weird Nazi room, it's a really good example of like how you can use an old building and make something new and interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That is, again, probably not sustainable because it's full of things that don't exist in that environment, rainforests and monkeys and aquariums, but it at least gives back rather than an office building that's covered in ivy, which costs too much to maintain, costs too many resources to maintain, and doesn't do anything for anyone.
No.
Besides give you the feeling as you walk by that you live in a progressive city.
Yeah.
And pat yourself on the back as much as you want.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's also... This is also like... this would be nice, this type of building that is full of greenery if it was like an extension of like public green space and you can walk into it, over it, onto it, whatever, and like actually experience the greenery or the nature that they like artificially put there, but just as something to put on the building you can like kind of see, but that it's just
so
nothing.
What do you think about like the High Line?
The one in New York?
Yeah.
That was an old like subway, like
it's like an elevated train.
Yeah.
And they turned it into like this long public park, and it's full of greenery and there's grass spaces that you can sit on. The thing is, it's so outrageously crowded, it's impossible to like find a place to sit.
Okay, so it's a tourist spot.
It's become an outrageous tourist spot.
Okay.
And it's completely inaccessible. Like, I was talking to a friend who went there with her mother, and her mother is disabled. And she could get up, but she really couldn't get down anywhere besides like the very end of the High Line.
Okay.
So you had to walk the whole fucking thing.
But that's due to like bad design. But because the idea, I like the idea.
Yeah, it's an elevated park. It's nice.
Yeah, probably like getting rid of the old High Line would have like been way too expensive and wouldn't have made sense because the real estate you like free up with it is probably like unusable because it's like just one
stupid little
line.
plots of land. Yeah.
No, I like it. If it wasn't a touristy area, maybe it could be something pretty. I don't know how necessary it is in New York for like to have parks. I've never been to New York.
They have a big park.
But just one is enough?
It's pretty big.
It is really big, but is it like maybe you need some park
it's
in a different
central
area?
Even. They call it Central Park.
Yeah, maybe. But no, I like the idea. Why not?
I mean, it's also like with the whole NEOM thing is talking about how they're building an oasis in the middle of the desert.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so apt in such a way that like if you've ever seen Lawrence of Arabia, it was set exactly where they're making NEOM.
Mm-hmm.
Like exactly. It's super weird. Like before I started Lava, I went with a friend to see a 70 millimeter screening of Lawrence of Arabia, which is an incredibly beautiful movie. The deserts are gorgeous to look at in the movie. It's just absolutely gorgeous. But the thing is, it's fucking desert. It is desolate. Like, people die in that movie because of the fucking desert. And then I come to Lava and they're like, oh, we're going to build projects there. And it's like, okay, cool. What? How?
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, without going into like detail about like how I don't really know if Neon exactly knows how this is going to work as they're doing it. It's like, imagine building the High Line in the middle of the fucking desert.
Yeah. I mean, it's hostile.
It's
a hostile environment.
You could argue with the High Line that you're giving park space to something that wasn't there.
Yeah.
But was that land not also totally fine without that?
Sure.
It was beautiful without this.
Yeah.
As much as it was in Lawrence of Arabia.
Yeah.
It was beautiful without the imposition.
Yeah, you're not really giving like something to this area, because this area the need isn't there for the line to be there. The line creates the need for the line. Yeah. Which is, might as well just like not do it.
It's SimCity. It's like, if you build it, they will come, but like
yeah, they just come automatically. Like, as soon as you like put a road and like 3 buildings, suddenly they start.
This desert was beautiful before.
I mean, and also, who is it for? It's a luxury thing.
It's
right
for the wealthiest of the wealthy.
You
know, they're gonna abandon the star system in Neon.
What's the star system?
So hotels have a star system, right?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars.
Okay.
And you can go up to 7 stars, like with crazy shit in like Dubai or whatever.
Yeah.
But there's certain requirements for what you have to have to meet a certain set of stars.
Okay. Is it the 1-star Neon resort?
Yeah. I mean, maybe it would probably be 1 star in a lot of cases, because like you need a certain amount of pool per guest. You need a certain amount of like guest amenity, like certain things that the guests can have at a moment's convenience. Certain amounts of transportation, which would just be impossible in the middle of nowhere. You can't have a pool in the middle of nowhere like this so easily.
Yeah.
Not to mention that the pools will often be gender segregated. And no one talks about this.
Sure.
But yeah, as progressive as it seems, like, you will still have male pools and female pools in a lot of places.
Yeah.
Unless they change that. There's no alcohol. They'll be rated on their own system. Proprietary to Neon.
Nice. Where does it start, at 8?
I don't know. I don't know how they're rating these. 1 Neon, 2 Neon, 3 Neon, 4 Neon, 5 Neon. One Saudi, 2 Saudi. No.
No, I wanted to incorporate the people that they displace and kill for
one Bedouin, 2 Bedouin.
Yeah, that's. We should probably like wrap this up.
Should I make this not record?
Architecture could be an instrument of freedom, and it could be an instrument of repression. And if you feel that this is pre-given, you've given up on the fight, we're lost.